right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Antoine?
Here.
Ms. Sponik is absent with notice. Mrs. Bowman is also absent with notice. Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Ms. Chahaki?
Here.
Mrs. Eichhorst?
Here.
Okay.
All right, let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Support.
Moved by Boyer, supported by Antoine. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're going to move on to our spotlight then. Dr. Robinson?
Maybe. All right, so it is February, and February is CTE Awareness Month, so we're highlighting some things from career and technical education in the district. I'm going to invite Mrs. Dawson up, our fabulous CTE director.
Good evening, board. How is everyone today? All right, well, I don't want to be up here by myself, so I am going to ask our mitttv winners to all come and join me, please, first. So, but thank you guys for having us. We're always really thankful here for all the support that we get here in Romeo with our CTE programs. We're really successful. Where's Brian? Oh, you want to come up too, Brian? We're very successful because we have the support of the board, the community, the parents, the teachers, the students, everyone here. So we're very thankful. February also is a great time to recognize CTE because I feel like at this point of the year, all this hard work that you guys have been doing from September on really starts to take wind. We're going in competitions, all the training that the kids have done. And the projects just really are just being brought up to light right now. So it's a great time of year. And also in February, like Dr. Robinson said, mitttv always awards, they always nominate only two students and one business partner from each school to be recognized in their achievements in CTE and all their hard work. And so we are very proud today to have entrepreneurship student Charlotte Hall here and video production student Molly Peters and also our industry partner Brian Cicchini. So if everyone would mind giving them a big round of applause. So I would like to read from their nominations.
Wait.
Sorry. So I'm going to start off with,
this is good stuff.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. So we'll start with Molly. Mrs. Harbison wrote that Molly leads a team of more than 60 students while consistently producing high-quality creative news packages. She manages social media for Romeo's Bulldog Broadcast, Hall of Fame and Art Department, demonstrating advanced skills in strategic communication and content creation. Beyond school, she creates promotional videos for local businesses and produces polished professional work as a media intern for Romeo Community Schools. Molly's post-secondary plan is to pursue a degree and career in media.
Eva, do I have a slide for this?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead. There we go.
Yay!
Yeah, there you are. See, from the
right,
from the awards breakfast there.
Congratulations, Molly. Just wait at the end over there. Good job, Molly.
Our next winner was Charlotte Hall. Charlotte Hall was nominated by Mrs. Legman, and she wrote that Charlotte is an exceptionally driven young entrepreneur with a remarkable record of initiative, responsibility, and community involvement. From launching her first business at the age of 10 to managing multiple successful ventures in high school, she has consistently demonstrated leadership, creativity, and a strong work ethic. Her future goals include earning a degree in nursing or business, opening a trademark business with a registered tax ID, and traveling the world.
Thank you.
Good job.
And our industry partner of the year is Brian Cicchini, Director of Nutrition Services at Corewell Health for a culinary arts program. Chef Monica wrote, Brian consistently attends CTE advisory meetings, offers thoughtful insight into current industry trends and shares his professional expertise to help guide curriculum development. He volunteers his time in the classroom, working directly with the students in the kitchen, and generously supports student success by facilitating meaningful work-based learning placements. His partnership embodies what strong industry collaboration should look like. We are very thankful for Brian.
Thank you for your help.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys, yeah, we were there at the November meal where Chef Monica had industry partners, 5 stations, and Brian was one of the key partners there. He worked with the students ahead of time on the menu. He was working with them on the plating, how to take the proper photos of the food. And then while we were having the meeting, working with the kids to actually prepare that as well. So, I mean, that was awesome what he did there. So thank you. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Board members, will you please join our 3 winners for a photo?
Okay, perfect. Sure, I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna face this way. Not one big long line.
Eva, do you want to click? Or
No, you know, actually, this
Okay.
is the only slide,
This
so
is
thank
good?
you. Yep, this is perfect. So, all right, so to continue the good stuff in CTE, so all our CTE programs, they work really hard and strive to provide the best experience for all our kids. However, this year in particular, I would like to bring up our education program because they truly deserve the acknowledgement for the incredible work that they are doing. So this evening, I was hoping that we could have our education teachers, Miss Lori Farrington and Mrs. Katie Burritt, come up along with her student representatives today, Helena Murphy and Megan Mullerchek. All right, so this program truly has transformed teaching and learning from a quiet little education program to a program that is robust, driven by student-led initiatives, engagement. There is no room for kids to sit quietly and just coast through this program. These kids are leading engaging activities, which encompasses not only their class, but other classes in the high school, classes in the middle school, classes in the elementary school. And every year, they're doing something new, just gaining more and more momentum and growth. So this is, without a doubt, the hard work and vision put together here by Lori and Katie. So I'd like to give you guys a huge round of applause. However, the best part is we're lucky today to have 2 students, Helena and Megan, to share with us their experience on what this program has to offer them. So would you guys like to say a few words?
So this class has honestly changed my life in many ways, and I don't mean to say that and sound cheesy. I mean it truly, because I came into this class not fully knowing if I wanted to be a teacher. It was kind of something I was thinking about along with other things, but testing it out and getting the chance to try it out and work in the field with actual students where I get to hold a sort of authority role with them, it only strengthened my desire to be a teacher, and I feel like I have truly discovered my purpose and meaning in life, and it has made me so much more driven and focused, and it has taken away genuinely all of my stress about the future because I know exactly what I want to do, and it makes me really happy.
Okay, I'm quite a bit like Megan. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I actually started off in the medical pathway and then decided after a year, maybe bones, organs, and blood maybe just isn't for me. So then I switched into the education pathway. So I had the opportunity to take 2 different classes last year. I took child growth and learning, and I also took intro to education. So I learned not only the developmental risks, function, and just overall life of the child. I also learned how to lesson plan, create like seating charts, and have strategies for communication. So right now I am in the 8th grade Spanish classroom, so I like to learn languages, so that's part of a fun fact about me, you could say. And I've learned not only to communicate in one language, but also in Spanish. And teaching a language is really hard, but I think it's such a great opportunity because being able to teach something to someone that they never had any prior experience about, you can just see when it clicks, and I feel like that was a life-changing moment for me because when I figured out that I could make that one difference and I could say one thing that made them just understand, I felt that was really cool. And then, like, I'm also involved in a lot of sports, so being able to not only share experiences about life, education, but also, like, growing your confidence, I feel like that was a big opportunity, and that's something that the education pathway has allowed me to do.
So this program also was actually featured last week, and I have a copy for you here in the Macomb Daily. They wrote a really nice article about this. This was actually written by one of our high school students as well, one of our editors-in-chief of the Bulldog Buzz. So I have a copy here I'd like to give you guys if you didn't have that. So if you once, how many years has this program been? About 6?
I think 4.5.
4.5? Okay.
Yeah, we started the year of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it was 6. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. Okay.
so 6 years.
Okay.
So after all of that, I mean, we have some of those program highlights that they have done, just giving the kids the opportunities from all ranges of ages. And these 2 teachers here have really, like I said, transformed this program into a
All right,
fantastic
ladies, I'm
thing.
not letting you off the hook. Those girls did an amazing job. Please share a couple thoughts about teaching kids to be teachers as teachers.
Well, I came into this pathway. It was not necessarily a choice. I was asked to step into this role, and I was not a volunteer. I was a voluntold, I guess. But I found that I love it. I do. Being able to teach what I've done for so long and be able to share the wealth of knowledge I have. But my absolute favorite part of this is the senior year that they were talking about them being placed in another classroom and being able to have a mentor teacher and follow a student group through the year and build their confidence and their strength. And I would say for both of these ladies and for all 18 of my seniors that I have this year in the field, they've all grown. And that's what you really want to see. And they've found out, like, do they want to do this? And many have. And that's like that moment where you can inspire the next generation. I always say when they graduate, I'm so excited for when they get to come back and be my colleagues. So that's my favorite part.
Excellent.
Okay. I was trying to think of when the program started because I was originally actually Lori's position, and then my son back there, he's 4. So I was like, how old? Because then I went on maternity leave, and we decided. So I used to teach the 2 later classes, and then I was out of the program for a bit. Last year, when the Tammy Gilniak retired, I jumped on the opportunity to teach child growth and learning. And I can say probably the most rewarding experience is getting the students into the classrooms. I took the students to Croswell. Where else did I take them? Elementary school, Washington Elementary, and then recently to the middle school. And just seeing the students interact with them and like kind of giving back a little bit to the community. And it's nice to see them, like we talk about all of like the child development, their physical, their cognitive, their psychosocial, and then they like see it like in real time. They had them play some interactive games they designed with them. At the middle school, they just created these success roadmaps like modeling Maslow, Bloom's, and Gardner's multiple intelligences, something to give back and do something during that our leadership time. So it's really rewarding. It's a lot of work. I've never really done a field trip before I've done this course. So, but it's so rewarding, and hopefully we're going to get into Hevel next month for March's Reading Month. So I'm super excited for that too. So it's nice to be a part of the program again. Thank you.
Thank you, board, for letting us come here today to honor everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming.
And that's our spotlight.
Thank you very much for coming. It's always neat to see students in action and get to hear them speak to us. So thank you for coming. We're going to move on now. Speaking about child growth and development, our early childhood program, we have some important updates. The curriculum subcommittee was able to meet this week and hear some of these, but now this is for the community and whole board to hear. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Eichhorst. We are going to let our director, Charlene McBeatty, talk a little bit. You saw the presentation at Curriculum Subcommittee last week, so we'll hand it over to Charlene.
Thank you. I first want to thank the Romeo Education Pathway before I get started, because some of the most incredible young people we have hired, they are probably the most loyal, hardworking employees that the early childhood department has. So thank you. So as you know, over the past couple of years, the board has so graciously backed the early childhood department and helped to facilitate the needs that they have. And first off, we want to thank the board for that. That means a lot. But through that, over the past year, we have begun to dig deeply into the programs, and we did an audit of all of the programs we offer. And along with that, begin to talk about the real vision of Romeo's early childhood programs and what that is going to look like for the future. Right here. So I first want to just review with you what we currently offer for classes in our early childhood programs. We have 4 different discovery classes, which are full day child care type programs: toddler, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and 4-year-old. Then we offer the GSRP Pre-K for All, which is the state-funded full day, 5-day-a-week program. And we also offer half-day preschool programs, 2-, 3-, and 4-day options. So when we began the program audit, we began to kind of separate all of those so we could see where our successes were and where some of our challenges or deficits were as far as the programming is concerned. So we came to 2 challenge points with the program audit, and it was the Discovery 4 program and the toddler program. So what we found with the Discovery 4 program is it is pretty much dissolving. It already has. We opened our 8th GSRP classroom December 1st. It's becoming a very successful, very desirable program for everyone. All families are eligible in the state of Michigan now. So because of that, it kind of naturally eliminated a 4-year-old child care program, because we do offer the full day and we offer half-day preschool programs. So, and that's what our community is trending towards. The half-day preschool programs, we have 3 teachers that are kind of hometown celebrities and everybody loves them. We actually have started registration for the half-day preschool programs, and they are all full for the fall already. So, and the full-day GSRP is well on its way. Then we found the other challenging point was our toddler program. And the challenge that comes with housing a toddler, infant type toddler program is, number one, the ratios. It's a ratio of 1 teacher to 4 students. As you can imagine, that becomes very costly when you run a program like that. We also were able to look into surrounding districts just to see what they're trending towards as well when it comes to toddler programs.
Do we want to say what we would have to charge in order for this to be solvent in toddler programs?
I think Beth has that number of what we would, need to sustain a toddler program, what the tuition would need to be.
Almost $19,000.
Tuition of almost $19,000 a school year for us to basically break even to run a toddler program. So those being our 2 challenge points, we want to talk about how we're going to move forward with the early childhood program and what the vision is for the future. Number one, we want Romeo Community Schools early childhood to set the standard, right, for all other early childhood programs in the community. We don't want to offer the bare minimum. We're a part of the school district, and we want to be the standard, and we want to be what this community wants to be a part of when they consider pre-K programs and 3-year-old programs for their children. What that means as well, we want to strive to become an early childhood learning center. We are transitioning away from childcare. We're not just keeping children alive in Romeo Community Schools, right? From our youngest learners, we're teaching them. That does look different in early childhood, but we are teaching them. And we want to prepare them and connect with the K through 12. So they are, if you look at research, you'll see that children that are provided pre-K, high quality pre-K programs have greater success K through 12 and further on in life. So it's a very important thing we're undergoing here to kind of set the standard for our early childhood. This community has poured a lot of money into this beautiful building that was built, and now we want our programs to match that.
Do you want to talk about
The structure? Yep.
and school day? Yep.
So what we are looking at and what we are proposing or looking at to update for the early childhood programs is because of the 2 challenge points, like I said, Discovery 4 kind of has dissolved itself. We no longer are offering that class. Toddlers, we are looking to dissolve that and it kind of be grandfathered out over the next school year. So we would not take any new registrations for that toddler program for the fall. We are also looking at, which I believe you guys have a memo that kind of lays that out about, we're looking at offering the Discovery programs as a school day. So we're transitioning out of a child care facility where you can pick and choose your hours every day, and we'll be running as a school day. So the school day will be 8:30 to 3:30. And then if you need additional care, just like the elementary schools for before or after, you would add that to your programming.
I think that's it. I don't have my curriculum.
Thank you.
But I think that's it.
So-
Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Yeah.
Just some context, maybe not necessarily for the board, because we've been on this journey since last year, and discovering that some of our programming, the program as a whole, we know the community service budget is a separate budget that we track every year and is audited. And we know that the general fund has had to support that budget for 2 years in a row, which is not, it's not common. We know that budget has at times had some significant fund balance, primarily because of grants that were received during and just after the pandemic. So those funds no longer exist, and we began to see some shortfall. I'm grateful for not just, Mrs. McFarlane and Mrs. McVetti, but, there's staff in the business office that have been working on this along with Vicki and Beth. So we've been able to isolate the programs and determine those that are really creating a negative budget situation. We have had the conversation about Croswell becoming an early learning center since before we passed the 2021 bond. The 2021 bond, the marquee project in that bond was the renovation of Croswell. And we were just on the front end of universal pre-K for all. So it doesn't surprise me, Charlene, that Discovery 4 is phased out because people really like free. It has a tendency to be attractive. And we also know the funding that we're receiving for those preschool students from the state, which is more than our normal foundation grant, mainly because the ratio of adults to children in our preschool classrooms is lower than it is in traditional K-12. So here we are at a crossroads to continue to move forward with becoming a learning center, but also make sure that we're financially viable for the future. And we know that there's just some legacy things that people really appreciate about child care programming, but we're going to have to make some decisions for the future. We're also in a next phase going to hopefully engage some of our community agencies that provide some of the similar services, because we think there might be a roadmap forward to partner, meaning some of these agencies could be really good at servicing 3-year-olds, and we could transition those 3-year-olds into our 4-year-old GSRP preschool programs rather than compete to offer the same things. We think there might be a partnership in the future, but this was really important for us to get to first. And so as Charlene has rolled out registration on a new timeline and some of these changes, people are signing up. We're in a way better place this time of year than we have been in the past. And I think this next phase is really going to solidify things. So with that, I will leave it to any questions that any of the board members might have.
I have a question. Just because I have a little bit of experience in the district that I work with early childhood, and I sit in meetings and hear about it. Are the teachers in the early childhood center, are they certified teachers?
So that's another great thing about GSRP and Pre-K for All, right? There are requirements for the teachers to have at least a bachelor's degree in early childhood education or elementary education with teaching certificate. And even their assistants have to have associate degrees at the minimum, which is very different than childcare, right? Childcare, there's minimum education. We do require a certain level of education for them to hold a lead position in one of the childcare classrooms. But making this shift too is about, in the future, making the shift of our staff becoming teachers.
For traditional preschool, they're also certified?
Traditional preschool is not. They have been with this district for a long time, and they're loved. I think two of them have associate degrees, and the third one does have a teaching certificate. So,
are they part of any bargaining unit?
Yes.
Yes.
They're all part of the same.
They're part of the same one. Yep.
Just that group?
Yeah.
Okay.
So GSRP teachers, Discovery,
half-day
traditional
preschool, yep.
SAC, they're all part of the same collective
Yes.
bargaining agreement.
Okay.
I have a question. So universal pre-K, it's paid for by the state, GSRP. Does it come with a predetermined lesson plan in order to get funding, or does it run through our curriculum standards, through our committees?
So the state requires, there's a set list of curriculum that is approved through the state. The Macomb Intermediate School District requires that all GSRP programs in Macomb, it's called creative curriculum. So all teachers have to be trained in that and utilize that curriculum.
So we don't get to choose for our district what curriculum is predetermined?
It's predetermined.
So that's different than our K-12?
Correct.
Okay. We don't have any say at all?
I mean, if we went to Macomb Intermediate School District, if we probably offered reasoning, we would still have to go off the state list of approved curriculums for GSRP.
So the ISD is the grant holder for the pre-K GSRP programs. So the money, all the grant money goes to them, and then it's funneled to us. So anything we need to do, we need to submit a budget to the ISD, and then they approve it.
Do we get to see it before it's implemented, the curriculum?
I think when we adopted that a couple years ago, yes. They went and saw, I think, it being used in different classrooms in neighboring districts. This is a while ago. I think when Janine first started, we moved to creative curriculum. There was another one that was on the state list that wasn't working for our staff and our kids.
The ISD provides all the training, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. McGuire, thank you again for coming to our curriculum subcommittee last week. I know one of the things, I don't know if just for those watching, that you did work very closely with our finance department
Yes.
to really crunch out those numbers and to say, this is not sustainable, something has to change. So this was not definitely a decision that you took lightly. And I just also appreciate, as a parent whose child went through your traditional preschool program, I appreciate that you're still keeping that. I think,
Yes.
That's definitely
It's very important.
warranted and age appropriate. And also, I know you mentioned like the traditional school day, the 8:30 to 3:30. But just to reiterate for the rest of the board, parents can pick up their child early, but you're looking at like there's going to be a minimum that they pay for those programs, just like a lot of
Right.
childcare or other centers do.
Right. So the minimum of 8:30 to 3:30 will be a 7-hour day. Obviously, just like K through 12, if a parent needs to pick a child up for an appointment or anything like that, yes, of course, yeah. Anything else?
No other questions?
Any other questions? All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our consent action items. That is our approval of our general funds, financial reports, our wire transfer reports, the purchasing card expenditures, and the minutes from 2 meetings. Our last regular meeting held on January 26th, that was in your packet, and also in your packet, the meetings from the special meeting held on February 9th, which dealt with some time-sensitive construction updates for our bond timeline. So can I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Boyer,
Second.
second by Chahaki. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, moving on to informational updates and new business. We're going to start with communications. I have
None from our office.
Okay. All right, then we are going to move on to our subcommittee reports, which we only have one, and that is myself from reporting out with curriculum subcommittee, which met last week. It was quite a long meeting. We had a lot to cover, but on the first docket was a lot of high school items. So we talked about a couple items coming up this time of year. Getting into early spring is when scheduling starts. So Mr. Oswald came and talked about adding intermediate guitar class and a Google Workspace skills class to our high school courses, and talking about how the guidebook will be updated and revamped for hopefully easier navigation for parents and students and counselors going through that process soon. We also talked about our advanced placement classes agreement, that will be updated. Not that anything's really changed with it, but just to reiterate with parents before they are registering or signing up for those classes, the understanding of how AP is different from other classes and the expectations from there. We also talked about language around outside credits that can be requested to go on high school transcripts. We have the issue is some students who are dually enrolled and paying for extra classes, they want those extra credits to be put on their transcripts, which then in turn pads their GPA, which is unfair to the rest of the students. So although that option for them to take those classes is not changing, we are not obligated to put that on their transcripts. We talked about testing out clarifications for kids that can test out for certain classes for credit. And then we also talked about how the diplomas will be different starting this year with our graduating class, that they will include their academy pathway on it. We had quite an extensive presentation by Mrs. McVetti about what you just heard tonight with the child care program and the rationale behind it. We also had Mr. Nelson come and talk to us about teacher Chromebooks and the need for those to be updated, and how the last time they had an update was 5 years ago, which in technology terms is dinosaurs, as we understand. We then talked about elementary updates, things that we voted on in the recent months. Power School Behavior Support Program, talked about how principals are now working to iron out kinks for that, and that hopefully will roll out in the fall. Parent Square communication, the data transfer has begun to get that information over to this new platform, and parents will be given ample notice on how to use and download the app, and that will begin in late spring. And then an update on our Bridges Math Tier 1 materials that will be presented to elementary teachers coming up on their PD day next week. Then we just briefly touched on the Sex Ed Advisory Board and what the requirements are for the state to be on that. And then we ended with just a discussion about behaviors at the elementary level and where we're at with potential paras for that or other behavior supports, making sure that we don't lose sight of that and the needs that we have at our elementary building. Any questions from those of you not there? All right. All right, that concludes our committee reports. Moving on to Dr. Robinson.
So because we just had the lengthy curriculum subcommittee meeting and the minutes and the report kind of support some of those things that might traditionally be in academic services, I just have Mrs. McFarland to any clarifications because we've got a resolution on the table for each of the new course proposals. Any further clarification we can provide for those new course proposals?
A request for Mr. Phillips to bring his beginning guitar players to the meeting.
I know last year we did the basic guitar. We approved that course, correct?
Beginning guitar. So it was offered this year.
Yes.
Quite popular. It's only a semester though, so kids take it and then
Need
what?
to go to the next level.
So this allows them to go to the next level.
All right.
And then Google Workplace Skills is replacing Microsoft Business, which is what we offer our current ninth graders. Really, we're a Google district, so we should be teaching our kids the Google suite pretty deeply by ninth grade. You know, they dabbled with Google Docs. You know, they've done these things, but the intent is for them to dive really deeply into the Google Sheets and formulas. Obviously Google Docs, there's Google Sites, which our goal is for them to create their electronic portfolio with Google Sites, because there's a way for kids to take their Google account when they leave us as a 12th grader and transfer it to their personal Gmail, so they wouldn't lose all of that historical information. The Microsoft Office suite would be taught in 10th grade business occupations, which where it really belongs. So if I'm going into business, our partners have said we use Microsoft products, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. So that will still live in the 10th grade first class that kids in the business academy, in the business pathway take. There will obviously be some appropriate AI use built into the Google Workplace Skills as well.
I was just wondering how relevant this will be and how long this will be in place for, because, I mean, as the rapid evolution of AI takes over literally everything, things like Excel are going to be obsolete soon. So I'm sure it's going to be incorporated into the class.
Correct.
Like appropriate use in AI.
Yes. Yep. It hasn't taken over yet, so there's still
Oh,
some thought and logic and people needing to verify accuracy is still going to be there.
Is there any teaching? So I have an intern right now at my company. It was a Romeo grad, and he had his resume was online, and he built it here. I don't know if that's involved at all, but it's extremely impressive.
Yeah, so by the time they leave us as 12th graders, as part of our profile of a graduate and as part of Michigan expectations, kids need to leave us with a resume.
Yeah.
So actually, they're starting to build their resume now in 6th grade with some of the things they're doing with their community partners and nonprofits. So within their at least 6-12 career right now, they'll be able to have a pretty strong resume of not only the things they've learned in school, partners they've worked with through an internship or a job shadow, partners that have come into the classroom and worked on a project with them, but they'll also be able to talk about some of the community service projects that they've worked on in the middle school. So that's an expectation that they leave us with the resume. So I'm glad to hear that his is well written.
It's great. It's huge. In engineering, to be able to show some of the stuff he worked on was very impressive.
Right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Murray's going to help me with checking back in on school of choice. Some of this presentation is carryover. I'll work quickly through, but we ended up tabling the resolution last month to provide some additional information and bring it back, hopefully for approval this evening. So just a reminder, 105, 105C, inter-district school of choice is for students who reside outside of our district in Macomb County or who reside in a contiguous county. That's the 105C. So not every district is located in such a position where 105C would make sense, but we're at the corner of two neighboring counties, so makes good sense for us. The board is required by the state school code to approve annually, and we're requesting again this year unlimited school of choice for grades young 5s through 8th, and our limited school of choice program in grades 9 through 11. Those seats are restricted. Those numbers are in your packet, and we're holding the same number this year, coming year, with approval that we did last year, which I believe is 40 seats for 9th grade and 20 seats for 10th grade and 10 seats for 11th grade. So our continued efforts in this area are really to get families, if you want to pursue school of choice, to choose us as early as possible, and we're beginning to see that impact just by families joining us in the middle school that maybe have waited longer. There's some definitely, transcripts, report cards, affirmation of prior discipline. There's review based on the school code for us to accept students. And then once a student is accepted through school of choice, they are an RCS student until they break enrollment. So we like to say, after we take them the first year, they're no different than a resident student other than we don't provide transportation. If something happens and they do break enrollment, then they would start the process all over again. When we think about inter-district school of choice, this was based on our fall count. We've got about 435 inter-district school of choice students. 179 of those in elementary, 256 in the middle and high school. There is no school of choice for 12th grade. However, we kind of had an unwritten partnership across all superintendents that if a child has attended with us for school of choice through 11th grade, then they request release to finish their K-12 program, and the home district would release them. Just as if we have resident students who have been somewhere else, I would release them to finish. It doesn't make sense to make a kid come back to their home high school for 12th grade when they've been somewhere else, typically for even longer than high school. It's about 8% of our enrollment. I'm sorry.
Clarification there. When you say no school of choice 12th grade, you can't apply.
Right. Yes. But they're going to need to go and get released from their resident school district, which is a pretty streamlined procedure. So whether we're looking at elementary or secondary, based on the overall enrollment, the number of students, we're running at about 8% of our total enrollment. Based on our foundation grant for this year, that's about $4.4 million in revenue for intra-district. I'm going to switch it over to Mr. Murray for the next couple slides and provide a little perspective more specific to the elementary level, Rob.
Thank you. So as Dr. Robinson noted, this graphic is kind of a continuation of what you saw on the last slide, but we do have 179 school of choice inter-district students at our elementary level, which accounts for about 8% of our total student population. Hevel Elementary School has the largest number of schools of choice students, and Washington has the smallest. That last column, too, I'll point you to kind of the average number of schools of choice students per class. Across all of our buildings, there's some nuance to this. Part of this schools of choice deal accounts for families who maybe have moved out of Romeo, searching for more affordable housing, but want to stay in the district. Typically, that happens prior to the schools of choice really taking off in earnest over the summer. So those students are already accounted for in our count, if you will, as we're trying to better understand kind of what class sizes will look like the following year. Of course, I'm biased, but I think that people leaving the district but wanting to stay really is a manifestation of the magnetism that the service that we provide to kids. shows in the sense of they could make a choice, they could go to a different school district, but they're wanting to stay with us. And so that's kind of a feather in our cap, the way that I see it. Overall, when you think of the revenue that comes in through schools of choice at the elementary level, again, interdistrict, it's about $1.8 million per year. That's enough for us to pay for 18 teachers, when in reality, that 179 student number really requires about 7 students. So this is an example of how the Schools of Choice program actually helps us keep our class sizes at a modest level across the district. Yes, there are some pinch points. That's what happens at times with the Schools of Choice program, but by and large, our class sizes are low in part because the additional revenue helps offset the cost of having to staff our classrooms with teachers. When we switch gears here to intra-district, right, those folks who are already in Romeo and are wanting to maybe attend a different elementary school than is their home boundary school, really has a negligible impact on school enrollment overall and is pretty evenly represented across the district and across grade levels. When a family applies for intra-district schools of choice, it's not like the application just comes in and it's automatically approved. If I can point you to the third bullet there in italics are some of the reason and rationale that parents must provide as to why they may consider a change of placement, if you will, from one building to another. We do have families who apply for intra-district because where their child starts school in the fall may not be where they end school in the fall. Think of a move. If you're a family who resides in the Hevel neighborhood and is moving to the Washington neighborhood, it does make sense for them to start maybe at Washington instead, because they're going to be there, at some time, let's say Christmas, let's say after the new year, and then finish out their time at the elementary level at Washington and then move on. It's also important to note that whether it's inter-district school of choice or intra-district school of choice, when we're not able to meet the needs of our choice families, we do run the risk of revenue loss, which is recurring, right? Especially when you think of schools of choice students coming into the district at the elementary level, because we find that when they come to us at the elementary level, they tend to stay through high school. And so it's not just a one-time $10,000 loss, it's $10,000 times how many years they could be in Romeo if we're denying their access.
So one of the things I provided in your packet, I want to just take the opportunity to speak to in our conversation around this. We've actually, I guess, put to paper in a more formal procedure what we're calling the elementary enrollment tracking sheet. So one of the supporting documents in your packet was, I know it gets a little bit small, but there's a lot of data on there we're tracking. So I've just taken a snippet of just the top section around Amanda Moore, and I want to emphasize that we've rolled our students up into the tracking sheet for 26-27. We looked at things at the last meeting in relation to where students were currently this year. So you're not going to see any Young 5 students. Young 5 kindergarten information night is tomorrow. There's a shout out for that. So we'll begin to engage families interested in Young 5s. And the only kindergartners you see in here are those students in the building that are currently in the Young 5 program. So you're seeing very light kindergarten numbers just because we haven't engaged those new students yet, and in many cases, new families. But as we begin to look at, the rest of the spreadsheet, we're tracking all enrollment. So this is going to represent the current students, for example, in second grade at Amanda Moore is the current first grade cohort enrolling them up. This ebbs and flows. We could have students that end up moving out of the district and they become dropped. We could also have new resident students, but we're really mindfully looking at intra-district school of choice students, inter-district school of choice, and even those students that might enroll because they're a child of an employee. So the spreadsheet is going to provide a metric that's going to allow us to really track all enrollment, but we're really concentrated on both elements of school of choice. And the formula that's running behind the scenes is authored by Ms. Pereira, not Dr. Robinson. because we just let business people do formulas because they're better at it. But it's all based off what we know from our teacher contract and what we presented in January around target class size and max class size. So the tracking sheet's going to function as we track, enrollment over time through the enrollment season, and it's going to allow us at a point in time to actually alert us when the average class size in that grade level has reached the target number. So if I go back to my sample section or the top portion of the sheet that you have, you will see currently, when we think about our second grade cohort at Amanda Moore next year, that average class size is at 27, which is just above the target. That immediately turns that grade level number 2 to orange, and now our enrollment coordinator and Mr. Murray are now monitoring that closely. So we have provided for a small portion of seats to be utilized in this range in between target and max, but we're also, more importantly, holding a number of seats so if we have those last minute resident enrollments right at the end of the summer or even into the beginning of the school year, and that does happen. And in some case, those are the elements that push us further away from target and even into max or overage, because it's just hard to predict. The other thing that can happen over time is as we get closer to a school year, specifically in August, we begin to get requests for records for students that are leaving Romeo and going somewhere else, and that can impact this number. So we could have a grade level cohort where we get 4 or 5 students that move out, and this grade level was on alert and it no longer is, and we might have some capacity to allow choice kids come in. Of course, with the support from the board. So we use this system of when we hit the target, we put it on alert, and then ultimately, when all of those available seats that are used up, then the grade level is going to be closed and it's going to turn red. I don't have that example in the Amanda Moore because we're not there yet. But at that point in time, the grade level would be closed, and we would not accept students into that. So when I think about, our situation that you see on your full sheet, you can see right now we have 3 grade level cohorts in 3 different buildings that are already being monitored closely as we begin the enrollment season. And those are the ones that might stand to be closed sooner than later. You also can see, if you go over to the remaining seats column, like you're going to see some of our grade level cohorts have a tremendous amount of capacity in them. And I think one of the important things that Rob and I have talked about individually is this notion of, at some point in time when the number of students in a grade level cohort gets that small, we have to consider closing a section. And the immediate thing we do is go from a very friendly class size that might not be ultimately fiscally responsible or affordable, to one that is immediately going to be on alert because
Dr.
we're
Robinson,
going from 3 to 2 sections.
The 5th grade at Amanda Moore is a perfect example of that this year, right? I think there's 61 students there. Like, you couldn't run 3 sections there. We ran 2.
Yeah. So those students, that cohort is moving on. Our 5th graders move on to the middle school, a greater level of capacity there. So each building has some unique, grade levels and some less capacity than others. And what we really want to do is just bring a more forward-facing, and we would, of course, be updating the board on this. So I'd like to think we'd set this sheet, officially launch the sheet in April, because we want to get to that point in time when things that people are applying for now, it's a deadline that we're actually going to consider things, and then we'd be filling it in, quite honestly, as enrollments happen. But the closer we get to August, the more stringent we're going to be on updating and monitoring this, and we'd let the board know as we get grade levels on alert, and certainly if we have grade levels closed.
Can you, Dr. Robinson, can you go back to one of the previous screens where you have the table? The column where it says total school of choice students, I'm adding intra and inter up for total, but that's not, on each one, your total is
Oh, I see what you're-
identical to
yes.
inter-district. Is that correct? Is that how you're looking at it? Because those are new students to the district? Because when we're thinking about total number of kids, inter and intra, even
It
though
would
we
be-
vote on them separately, are,
Beth, it would be both, correct? Should be both, I should say. Yes. Got it.
right, I understand that, but it still affects total class size.
Mm-hmm.
Was this formula, has this been used in the past? Or is this something like new we're using?
No,
to-
this
okay.
formula has not been used in the
Okay.
past. The process is still the same.
Okay.
We've just now actually put a formula to it to create the formal alert and the actual when we would close it.
But when it goes red, it's closed.
It's closed.
So you're not taking any more than that. Okay.
Right. But let's just say that goes red in May, and we now get 4 students dropped from that cohort. You know what I'm saying? It would not be closed anymore. Whether those parents will hang with us, choose a different building, whatever it may be, is a different story. But if we have students that leave, we would want to reopen that.
I just want to say that I appreciate all the work you did into this and all the information that you shared with us in our packet. And the fact that you said that this is forward-facing, this is, I think, excellent. It gives us an idea. Building, grade level, everything, so.
Ultimately, when you look at the sheet and we show it to you over time, the blue column is the actual number of kids. And that's pulling, whether they're inter, or child of an employee, that number includes everyone. All right, thank you, Mr. Murray. We've got a couple other things in my report tonight. The next one is also tied to one of our resolutions. So had a couple of good questions from Mr. Boyer. I thought it would be good to share with everybody, and also allow Mr. Nelson is here tonight. Should you have any questions about the teacher Chromebook resolution, he's here. He can provide clarification. So this is, of course, replacement of current devices, as the curriculum subcommittee report talked about. The devices marked, this is 5th year for those, for our teachers. So time for them to be replaced. We did run a small pilot of some different devices. And I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago at Cabinet, Mr. Nelson was not excited to tell us that the cost of the desired Chromebook was like $300 more per Chromebook than, what was great is, I would say within 2 weeks later, we got a far better price in the actual parameters that our teachers are looking for. I think one of the biggest differences that our teachers will have is our current Chromebooks are not a touchscreen, and the new ones will have that capability, which will be helpful for them in many ways. We do fund these instructional technology purchases out of our sinking fund. And if you remember, our sinking fund is currently running from 25 to 29, 1.25 mils annually. We have a little bit of a rollback, so I know it's a little bit less than that. But that annual levy is about $3.4 million. And each year we set aside about $625,000 towards these purchases. So, and we hold that. So if we're replacing student devices, then it takes about 4 years of that. One of the things that we've talked about is, as the sinking fund has generated more, the cost of technology has also gone up, and we probably have to recalibrate that, maybe even to a percentage of the overall annual levy. So the money is there, and it's part of a system. We purposely do not have student and teacher replacement on the same year, but we're going to be aligned to definitely accommodate another student replacement with the current sinking fund millage, and maybe even teacher. Questions on that?
I just wanted to mention that I had an opportunity, I was talking to Mr. Nelson today regarding a a problem that I'm having in my district, and so we're kind of collaborating on that. And I had read through the minutes and or through our agenda and whatnot, and he answered my questions, and it was much what Dr. Robinson had said. The question that I had is that forever Romeo has been a Dell computer place, shop, if you will, and that these teacher stations were going to be the Asus workstations, and Mark had, or Mr. Nelson had mentioned that it went through committee and evaluation and so forth, and this is what the group had selected, which is what we want. He also had mentioned that Dell did not provide a 14-inch monitor, and our first set at my district where I work at had the 11-inch monitor, and when we updated, we went to the 14-inch monitor for our teachers as well. So, and then I talked to him a little bit about the serviceability of them, the warranty, and so he's got it all worked out. So the other thing is, I didn't know if Mr. Nelson, if you're going to plan to see if there's any value with the ones that you're getting back in and seeing if you can get some money for them.
Yeah, we do that always with any devices that we have to see if there's any value. We normally do get some value. There won't be much because they're 5 years old, but even with devices that have no value at all, they're environmentally responsible.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Anything else from Mark? All right. Last for my report tonight is this fancy colored document that I provided for you, which is a lot of work in the making to get to our 2025 design and construction timeline. And so as we spoke about recently, really what we can set forth is really the first group of projects. But we need to plan holistically everything that was in the Treasury app and align that with how the bonds are going to be sold. So we know $62 million facilities bond was approved in November. We know that our financial advisors have set forth for us for the first series to be $32 million that will be sold this spring. We actually are going to have a resolution in March for the board to consider for the sale of the first series. And then what the projection is now is the second series would be sold in the spring of 2028. So there is overlap. And some of our biggest projects in this bond, the additions, are actually going to cut across Series 1 and Series 2, which is good because it allows us to do a little bit of balancing of the funds as we might need to. So I think when we talk about these groups, there's two phases. There's that design phase, and you'll see, for example, with Group 1, that's January of 26 to January of 27. So we've started in that. We have all three of our additions starting design in Group 1. That's pretty aggressive. I've heard that a lot from architects, construction managers, and even maybe an operations supervisor. Director, but we've got a plan. We've added additional support, and our professional support companies are supportive to make this happen. Things don't happen overnight, and it's interesting when I talk to our principals, especially those who are getting the additions, because we've been at this since 2016. Their perspective is pretty realistic about when they might get access to some of these new spaces. So that's the biggest piece here. One of the unique things you're going to see in the construction timeline portion of this is we have July of 2026. There are 2 projects in Group 1 that we're potentially doing this summer because they're smaller and we're going directly to an engineer. One of those is a site work project with the repaving of the parking lot at the administration building. The other is the potential of just some exterior lighting upgrades at Hevel. But that's an anomaly. If you look at any of the other groups, you're typically starting a construction timeline at some point after the design timeline. So we're designing for a year, then we're constructing for a year or more based on the depth of the project. So in addition to our new additions, we're also talking about those things coming out of our facilities assessment. We've laid this construction timeline out under the same 4 categories that we actually presented and campaigned for the bond issue on. And we think that that just creates things, like we're keeping things synonymous with the terminology that we're using. So each group has a series of infrastructure improvements, learning environment upgrades, safety and security, and then arts, athletics, and play spaces. Some years there's more in some of those areas, some years there's less. We get to the very end of the bond, we're actually, learning environment updates will be taken care of by then, and we'll be more into completing some of that. We have accounted for our technology portion of the bond, and you'll see some of those main initiatives. There's some smaller items that might be happening. We've also accounted for bus purchases in the later, in the second series of the bond, as were outlaid in the bond application and our campaign materials. We're kind of in process with Group 1 to some degree, but we're ready to set forth and make this forward-facing to the community, begin to talk to our staff about it after giving the board the opportunity to take action in support of it this evening. Any other questions in regards to the timeline?
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, too, for presenting this at our special meeting, with some of the construction representatives, because it's a lot of moving pieces at once.
Yes.
To talk through. So. All right, moving on. We do not have any public comment slips, so we will skip over that. We are going to move on to our regular action items and begin with Employee Services Resolution number 18, Personnel Update. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Boyer.
Second.
Second by Chahaki. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Business Services Resolution number 11, School of Choice for the upcoming school year. This deals with inter-district.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Rice, support by Antoine. Any questions, comments?
As long as we're shutting down the sections when they get full, I support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes. No. I don't want.
Aye, yes.
I don't know what to say.
Nay?
Yeah. Nay.
3 yeses, 2 nays. Motion passes. Business Services Resolution number 19, the 2021 bond purchases for the buses.
Motion.
Motion by Rice.
Second.
Support by Chahaki. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, Academic Services Resolution number 20, letter A. We broke this into the 2 different courses for Romeo High School that were spoken about. The first one is intermediate guitar. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Chahaki. I will second that. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that course is approved. And then Academic Service Resolution 20, letter B, for Romeo High School course update, the Google Workspace Skills class.
Motion.
Motion by Rice.
Support.
Support by Antoine. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that course is approved. Facilities Resolution number 21, this is the 2025 bond timeline that we just saw for the design timeline as well as the construction schedule.
Motion.
Motion by Chahaki.
Support.
Support by Antoine. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then lastly, Technology Resolution number 22, our teacher Chromebook purchases coming out
Motion.
of our sinking fund.
Motion.
Motion
Support.
by Antoine, support by Boyer. Any further questions on that one? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, moving on for the good of the district, board discussion. Do we have anything? I know we have a couple of us absent tonight.
Can I mention something?
Go for it.
I learned something over the last weekend. I was driving around the district on Saturday, and when I came by the high school, it was absolutely crowded, packed, the parking lot, there was no, and then I learned that we have a powerlifting section.
First time having,
Were you
hosting a
here?
meet.
That was new for me. I thought that was so
Oh,
cool.
it was huge. And you know what? I'll tell you something. The girls had more support. I mean, I'm not kidding. The girls had more support than the guys did.
Did
It was
they?
incredible.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
very cool.
I just thought that was really neat to see that.
It was neat.
Yeah.
It's a very packed gym.
Oh, can we mention the boys and girls wrestling teams real quick? Because my daughter's on the wrestling team, and they're going to states. She's not
cool.
going to states because it's her first year, but maybe next year. Yeah, yeah, but the girls are going.
We'll recognize them. you
I know. I just wanted to
Yeah.
plug.
They don't always get recognition, so. All right, anything else? All right. I know, I'll just speak really quick. We talked a lot about this at the last meeting. The school of choice thing is always a contentious issue. There's two sides of it, the financial side to have things be sustainable and keep teacher classes, but also the other piece of it, the learning environments. And I always struggle with that as a teacher myself, you know, not just packing kids in. So there are two sides of it, and I do see both sides of it. So hopefully we can, you know, put things in place and even work, you know, with the teacher union to even talk about those contract numbers to make sure that we're servicing our kids, but also our teachers that do the hard work every day. So, anything else? Going once? Going twice? All right, I have no further public comment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Boyer. Second by Chahaki, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming.